Hey, I'm Shaily and you're watching EatBreatheBooks. Hey everyone, I hope that you're doing well today and thanks for clicking on this video. I did want to come on today and give you a different recommendations video that I've been seeing a lot of people doing, and this was requested to me on Instagram. It's basically where I give you guys recommendations based on tropes, so things like enemies to lovers, best friends to lovers, things like that. So I did make a little list, and if you want a part 2, let me know. Some of these recommendations are young adult and some are new adult. Some I would say are like more popular and well known, and some I think are less well known, and I'm hoping that more people will get into these books. So without further ado, let's get started. So I'm starting with a trope today that I feel like a lot of people really love, and that is enemies to lovers. So the first one that I have here is Beach Read by Emily Henry. I know people have been hyping this up, but let me just talk about it for a second in case you haven't read it yet. This is basically about two people that went to college together. They were in the same creative writing program and they just did not get along. They have like very different writing styles. He's a literary writer. She is a women's romance writer. So just they're very different. They didn't really get along. And then years later, it turns out they're staying at lake houses or beach houses. No, lake houses next door to each other. And they basically place a bet where they have to write in each other's genre, and that's gonna hopefully get them out of a creative rut, but it'll also hopefully make them like appreciate each other's writing style and each other. So they definitely don't start off on the right foot, but as we know, this is an enemies to lovers story. So, and I just really love the cover. So yeah, definitely recommend this one, and this one is a new adult. The next one I have is a young adult, and that is Today, Tonight, Tomorrow by Rachel Lynn Solomon. This is about two high school seniors. It's their last day of school, and as a last day of school celebration, the grade is having a scavenger hunt all around Seattle, which is where they live. And so two people who are rivals for being valedictorian, like they have really high GPAs, very like high overachieving students, decide to band together to win this scavenger hunt. So definitely an enemies to lovers story that takes place in 24 hours all around Seattle. The next one that I have, I wish more people talked about this. It's Tokyo Ever After by Emiko Jean. The second book, Tokyo Dreaming, just came out and I need to read it. I'm so excited. This is about a girl named Mitsumi who finds out that she is a princess, a Japanese princess, and so she basically drops everything and like moves abroad to like get to know her father, who she's never known, and learn how to become a princess essentially, and like get to know Japan, which is where she's from, but she just like doesn't know a lot about the country. And she does not get off on the right foot with Akio, who is her bodyguard. So we've got a little bit of a bodyguard trope in there, which is one of my faves. And yeah, they just do not get along in the beginning. So I would say this is like a light sort of enemies to lovers story, but really just a great story that I recommend you read regardless. This one is a young adult. The next one is a young adult as well, and that is Tashi Bouillon's Counting Down with You. This is about a girl who has pretty strict parents, but they go away for a month to visit family in Bangladesh, and so she's staying with her grandma and her brother. Her brother's always had it more easy than her in terms of the way that her parents parent. That's the way that she feels. And her grandma, while I guess a bit traditional, is more lax. She's had a little bit more freedom to like stay after school and tutor and just like go out a little bit more, and she just gets off on the wrong foot with this guy in her class who really needs English tutoring. And then obviously she gets to like know him over time and spend time with him and things like that, but obviously there's like a countdown because there's a ticking time bomb because the parents will be back in like 4 weeks or so. So yeah, definitely really like nice fun enemies to lovers story. The next one is a new adult, and I don't have it on me, but it's The Trouble with Hating You by Sajani Patel. Basically it's about this young woman who works at an engineering company that's about to go under, and this guy is like brought in to help like save the company essentially, but she does not like him because her parents tried to set her up with him, sort of like an arranged marriage situation, and she like ran away from the house before she could have like a dinner with him, and like smacked into him, like literally smacked into him, and they fell to the ground, and then she like ran away, and then turns out that guy is the guy that's working at her company that's about to go under. So she's just like she's not into this guy at first. I also would say look up the trigger warnings before you read this one because it does deal with abuse, not from him, but her past. So I would definitely look that up first if you feel like that's something you need to do. But apart from that, I do think it's a really great enemies to lovers story, and there's so much fun like banter in this one, which we love banter. I have 2 more enemies to lovers stories. I know I have a lot of recs for enemies to lovers. So the first one is On Honeymooners by Christina Lauren, and this one is about basically 2 people, and like they don't like each other, but their siblings get married, but then the siblings and everyone at the wedding gets food poisoning except for the 2 of them because they like didn't eat the shrimp or something, and so they end up going on the honeymoon that their married siblings were supposed to go on, and they have to pretend like they're in love with each other, which is hard because they don't like each other, and it's also just like hard in general. And then like a bunch of like shenanigans ensue, and it takes place in Hawaii, which is a lot of fun. So I read this one really quickly. I devoured it. Like, I love Christina Lauren's writing, so this was a really great enemies to lovers book. And the last enemies to lovers book I'm recommending in this video is a YA called Of Curses and Kisses by Sonia Menon, and this one is essentially a Beauty and the Beast retelling that's on the more contemporary side, though it does have some magical elements thrown in. It basically takes place at a boarding school in Colorado. It's like this elite boarding school for very like rich kids whose parents are diplomats and different things like that. So this girl and her sister transfer to the boarding school. The younger sister ensued a scandal when they were living in India. They're like Indian princesses. She ensued a scandal, and the older sister blames this guy who goes to the boarding school for what happened, and so basically she's trying to like destroy him. She just like does not like him at first, but it's a really like interesting take on Beauty and the Beast, just really interesting take on like enemies to lovers. And obviously if you're into boarding school stories, if you're like House of Anubis or anything like that, then you might really like this one. So I really wanted to give a ton of best friends to lovers recommendations. I literally could only think of one. I'm sure that I've read a few others in the past, but this is the one that really came to mind. I even scrolled through my Goodreads, and it's weird because best friends to lovers is like my favorite trope. So I don't know what's up with that. But here I am recommending People on Vacation by Emily Henry. This is my second Emily Henry rec in this video. Love her books. Still need to finish reading Book Lovers. So yeah, this is about two people who used to be best buddies and now they're not. Used to go on a vacation every single year because she is a blog blog writer. So she would always go on these trips, and like a photographer would come along, but she'd always bring her best friend as her best guy friend as like her companion on these trips. But then over the last 2 years they haven't gone on a trip. Like something happened between them and he got a girlfriend and like all this stuff. But now she like wants to go on like one last trip with him, like one last hurrah. So yeah, it's like awkward because they're not like very close anymore, but they go on this trip. So best friends to lovers. We love it. And this is really fun because it takes place over the course of like several years. Like there are a lot of like flashbacks and stuff to different vacations that they've been on. So it kind of feels like you're traveling to a ton of different locations, which is really cool. That actually makes me think of another book video I want to film. I want to give recommendations of books that take place abroad. So if that's something that you're into, please leave a comment down below. Like I really want you guys to communicate with me more. Like let me know the kind of book videos that you want me to make, because I love making videos, but I definitely want to make content that you would enjoy. So if recommendations of books that take place abroad is something that you want, like absolutely, I'm so down to do it. Like I love abroad books and they're romantic and fun, and yeah, just let me know. Next, I have 3 fake dating recommendations. The first one is a young adult, and it's To All the Boys I've Loved Before by Jenny Han. This is a trilogy. They turn these books into movies. You can find them on Netflix. And I just love these books so much. I definitely recommend it for the fake dating aspect that happens in the first book, but also like a lot of other things occur throughout the series. A lot of really fun, just like storylines and tropes and things like that. These books haven't been talked about in a while, I feel like. I mean, I know The Summer I Turned Pretty, which is another series from Jenny, has blown up recently, but let's not forget about To All the Boys I've Loved Before and how fantastic the books are. I watched the first 2 movies and I've definitely enjoyed them, but the books are like so incredible, like chef's kiss. So good. So yeah, definitely recommend that for fake dating. I also recommend The Love Hypothesis by Ali Hazelwood. I actually just finished reading it and this was so much fun. This is about a girl who is a PhD candidate. She's studying biology, I believe. So women in STEM, and she fake dates a professor, not one in her cohort, but like a professor at the school. And she actually does it for a really kind-hearted reason, and he has his own reasons for it. I thought it was really realistic, like how shy she was and how unsure she was around him all the time. Like I feel like that's a pretty normal take on like the fake dating thing. One more fake dating recommendation. I love this one. This is Better Than the Movies by Lynn Painter. I guess you kind of say that this one is like Friends to Lovers as well, sort of. I'll explain why. So this is a YA. Basically, this girl, she lives on this street with like a ton of different like people her age, and when she was little, like they were all besties, and like one guy she stopped talking to, one guy moved away, and so the guy that moved away moves back to town, and she thinks that they belong together. She thinks like this is gonna be her rom-com moment, and she tries to get the help of the other guy that she doesn't really talk to anymore, the guy she's always arguing with, I should say. She's like, oh, can you like help me out? Like I really want him to go out with me, and there's like some sort of deal that they exchange. So yeah, this is a really fun like enemies to lovers story. I just love how much of a soft spot he has for her. Like boy falls first. I love those boy fall first stories. And if you're into rom-coms, you should read it too, because it really does read like a rom-com, and it's an homage to rom-coms. If you look at the headers of each chapter, let's see if I can find one. There's like a quote from a rom-com. So for example, in the prologue It says, I'm just a girl standing in front of a boy asking him to love her, which is from the rom-com Notting Hill. The whole time I was reading this, I was like anticipating a 10 Things I Hate About You quote, because that's like my favorite rom-com. So that was a lot of fun to get to. But yeah, definitely recommend this story just in general. If you're into like YA romance, this is definitely a top pick for sure. Next, I have some second chance romance recommendations. This one is one that I read very recently and really enjoyed. It's Every Summer After by Carly Fortune. This is her debut novel. Emily Henry hyped it up. She said it's a radiant debut. This one is basically about this person who she gets a call and learns that the mother of these boys that she was really close to when she was younger has passed. So she returns to the like lake town where she grew up during a lot of her summers to attend the funeral, but that means seeing these brothers again, especially the one that she was in love with for years, who she stopped talking to a long time ago. So we're kind of like figuring out why that happened and seeing them reunite over, I think, the weekend or whatever it is, over a couple of days. And the chapters like go back into the past as well and in the present. This reminded me of my other recommendation for second chance romance, which is Love in Other Words by Christina Lauren. This also goes back in time, like what happened then and what happened now, why are they not talking now, and like what made them so close before. They also grew up in like a house next door to each other during some parts of the year. So those are the similarities. A lot of people say that like Every Summer After is basically if you take The Summer I Turned Pretty plus Love in Other Words. If you mash them together, you get Every Summer After. But anyway, these are really fantastic second chance romance recommendations. These are both new adults. So I have two more recommendations for second chance romance, and these are both young adult novels. The first one is Once Upon a Quinceañera by Monica Gomez Hira. I feel like people do not talk about this book enough. It's also kind of a Beauty and the Beast retelling. I mean, there's some like Beauty and the Beast like elements thrown in, but maybe not a retelling, but there is like a fun element of Beauty and the Beast. Anyway, basically this girl, in order to get credit to graduate from college, she has to do an internship, graduate from high school, so she has to do an internship over the summer, and she basically works for this company that puts on like fun princess parties for kids for their birthdays and whatnot. She does it like with her best friend and other people, and then her ex, who like moved away like 3 years ago, like after freshman year or something, like moves back to town, and he's playing like the Beast to her Beauty or to her Belle. That's like where the little Beauty and the Beast thing comes in. But also the whole company has been hired to do a choreographed dance for her cousin's quinceañera, which will be taking place later in the summer. But she and her cousin like do not get along very well anymore. So lots of drama in the family. This was just like so much fun to read, and takes place in Miami, and it was fun to read about like the princess parties and just like that second chance romance of just like getting to like try one more time with this person that you had a past with or whatever. So that was a really good book. I really enjoyed that one, and people really should be talking about it more. And my other second chance romance is Serious Moonlight by Jen Bennett. Again, another book that people need to be talking about more. This is a YA novel. I love this one. And this one is about basically this girl, like she met this guy for like one night. Like I don't know where they were, but they met somewhere and they like hit it off. But then something like awkward happened and she just ran away. And then sometime later she like spots him again, and then it turns out they're like working together at the same hotel. As like desk clerks, or I'm not really sure what it was. Yeah, so they like basically, that's their second chance at romance. I just really enjoyed this one. I thought that it was like very romantic and very sweet. Finally, we have what is one of my favorite tropes. If you're gonna bag on it, you can leave. And that is love triangles. I love love triangles. When love triangles are done right, love triangles are fan-freaking-tastic. Did you really think I would recommend love triangles without recommending the OG Twilight by Stephanie Meyer? If you have not read Twilight, I know that some of my readers are younger or they're just like new to reading. If you haven't, please check this out. It is so good. Basically, it's about this girl who moves to a small town and falls in love with a vampire. But there's a lot more to it than that. Like there are werewolves involved, and it's just, oh, the vibes of the story. Like you literally get transported to this town. Like it's incredible. There are movies too. I like the movies as well. I've watched the first 3 and I've liked them, but the books are OG incredible. And the love triangle is done so well. And I read this trilogy 3 times in middle school, and then I reread it again. I reread some of them like a year or 2 ago, and oh my gosh, I gained such a new appreciation for the love triangle. Like it actually was such a difficult choice, and like both of the contenders were so incredible. And I also just love the main character. I think she's great, and I love how much she like cares about everyone. And it was just such a difficult decision. Like I really felt for her, and I felt torn, and I didn't really feel that way as much when I was younger, and now I really felt it, and I still think about it sometimes. So anyway, love triangle really done right. Like this is the blueprint. So good. Of course, I also have to talk about The Summer I Turned Pretty by Jenny Han, which is one of my favorite trilogies. Yeah, there Also, It's Not Summer Without You, and there's also We'll Always Have Summer. This is a love triangle between two brothers. I mean, not between two brothers, wait. This is a love triangle between the female protagonist and two brothers. It takes place at a beach house. I love this trilogy so much. I also want to give a shout out to the Infernal Devices trilogy by Cassandra Clare. This one is my only fantasy recommendation in this, actually. So this is a young adult. Twilight and Summer are also young adults, not sure if I mentioned that. Just a very well done love triangle. Basically this girl, I don't know, it's really hard to explain. This takes place in the Victorian era. It's like the steampunk era. This girl gets like kidnapped and has to live in this institute, and they're like two boys who are best friends. And that's the love triangle between the three of them. Some of them are like shadow hunters, which means they like slay demons, and there's just a lot of like fantastical like fantasy elements thrown in here. It's really hard to explain, but if you're into fantasy, I would recommend this. I really would just read this for the love triangle and the characters. Like, I don't really care much for like demon slaying and things like that, but I would read this for just like the story and the characters. I definitely think it's worth it. Cassandra's a really good writer, and she really makes you care even about like the minor characters. Like, there are so many point of views that are given in these books, and like you really care about everyone, which is super cool. So good. Those are my trope-based book recommendations that I have for you today. Some young adult, some new adult. I really hope that you all enjoyed this video. If you did, please give me a thumbs up because it really helps me out. It gets my videos out there more and it lets me know that you guys are liking it. Also, if you could leave a comment down below, that'd be great, letting me know if there are any of these books that you enjoyed, or if you have any recommendations based on these tropes or other tropes. I would love to hear what you guys have to say. I love talking to you all, and just thank you all so much for your support. I really appreciate you all, your support, your patience, your kindness, for subscribing and everything. Thank you so much. I love you all, and definitely leave some requests down below, and I will talk to you all soon. Bye.